The Black Dog are a British electronic musical group slash project formed in 1989 in Sheffield and centred around Ken Downey. They had some kind of break in the late 90s, early 2000s, but the claims in Wikipedia of when they were active don't match up with the release dates of the albums. So I haven't been able to determine exactly when. It's not that important. I think they've released 23 albums so far, including one in 2025, which is when I'm recording this introduction, and two in 2024. In fact, nine since, including the year 2020 onwards. So by the time that this hits release, they may have more. They've also had quite a focus on EPs. They've had 49 at the time of recording this intro. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of the album Bytes by Black Dog Productions, which was the name they used for this album, but the band are actually generally known as The Black Dog. It was released in 1993 and was their first album, and the name Black Dog Productions is the name of the record label that they founded. Also, it's my first encounter with them, so I've not heard this album before. And this is categorized by Acclaimed Music and by Wikipedia as IDM, which stands for Intelligent Dance Music, which always brings to mind the idea of you're only allowed to dance if you've got the appropriate qualifications, maybe. That's just my sense of humour. It actually implies that there's some sophistication coming into it. So let's try and do some description. It is electronica. And there are quite complex beats and rhythmic patterns going on, and bass lines. Mostly it's quite fast, and then you've got synth chords that are often quite syncopated, and you've got twittery bits of notes as well, all synth. I think it's entirely instrumental. From the two listens through I did, I don't remember any vocals at any point. And so there will be people who have a much better view of the history of electronic music than I do. Here's my take on where this fits with other electronic music. And I would say that this kind of takes some other stuff from techno and rave and house, and don't ask me to delineate those perfectly, which kind of, to my mind, peaked around 1991, 1992. So that was 2 years before this album. When I say peaked, that is, it kind of broke through into charting stuff around there. Raves have been around for a bit longer than that. Particularly that kind of house music tended to use syncopated rhythms, and particular kinds of syncopated rhythms. I think one of the kind of archetypal songs that was very, very popular is Rhythm as a Dancer by Snap. And it's got that kind of syncopation. So this album has syncopation, but it's pushed it a bit further and made it a bit more complex. But then it's taken some of these ideas and to my mind, has consolidated it a bit more with kind of 70s electronic stuff. So like Jean-Michel Jarre and German ambient stuff like Tangerine Dream, stuff that came through. Klaus Schulze, if anybody knows who I'm talking about there. So I understand this album is considered foundational for IDM and influential. And I would peg this as being somewhere between trancey and interesting. So trancey is stuff that you can kind of switch off to, and it goes on in the background. But this has got it's less. You can just switch off because it's got more interesting stuff going on, but it's not so totally interesting that you just focus on this. It's got some interesting sounds used at times. It's definitely got some unusual rhythms. Something that I read said that they use unusual time signatures as well. I didn't particularly spot that. Unusually for electronica, it has the feeling at times of improvisation. As if they're kind of, just kind of playing with it and seeing what happens. And I can quite like improvisation, but it feels odd to me in this situation. Sometimes I would say musically it's strong. Sometimes it feels a bit more aimless. And occasionally it actually feels a little bit clumsy, as if it's not quite as polished as it could be. The transitions between tracks, they tend to run together. That could be better, though. It just seems to me like a fade out, quick fade out of one and a fade in of the other. It's not a musical transition between them, which might have been nice. I don't really mind what they're doing. It's just I'm commenting it. Um, so so I was listening and making these notes and thinking about it. It also struck me that the kind of the rhythmic, the drum pattern stuff and the bass line was sounds like it's been done in a programmed way and patterned. But a lot of the rest of the stuff sounds like it's not. It sounds like it's been played as they've recorded. I'm going to use the phrase less quantized. So it sounds less as if it's strictly on the beats and it's just a bit looser. Um, which again makes it unusual for electronica in that electronic almost always seems to have that quite metrical feel to it, of it's being quantized and on the beat. And it's that mechanic feel to it is part of the feel of electronica. So this plays around with that by breaking that. So I found it mildly interesting, but it's not high up on my list of electronica. So I quite like some electronic stuff, and I'm going to reference some things here. So for more ambient stuff, I'd prefer to listen to Banco de Gaia. Um, for for other electronic stuff, Jean-Michel Jarre from the 70s, Bentley Rhythm Ace, The Orb, and there's quite a lot of British electronica in particular, and IDM that I like more than this, I would say. It's not that it's particularly bad, but I just didn't find it particularly good either. It's just, yeah, it's all right. So that's what I think of this album. As always, I'd love to know what you think of this album. I know there are going to be people out there who absolutely love it. And if you'd love to tell me why you love it when I haven't had that same very positive response, I'd love to hear from you. But, agree with me, disagree with me, talk about the weather. Please leave me a comment. But that's it from me for now.